I'm tempted to use the words of Holy Writ about our pioneers. There were giants in the earth in those days. I think of a man like Eric August Cooksburg, the little man physically, with a big vision and the unlimited horizon. In his own home, in 1884, he established a little school that became the progenitor of both Minnehaha Academy and North Park College. Andrew L. School, the composer, the director, the colleague of Pastor Cooksburg for a quarter of a century. His entire musical education was about a dozen lessons on a reed organ. He and Pastor Cooksburg were very different. Both were Värmlänningar, both born not far from the Norwegian border in Sweden. But Skog was the very incarnation of accuracy and promptness, while Cooksburg was just the reverse. He was careless in many ways in business matters. He didn't like schedules, didn't like programs. He often came late. One time when he and Skog met, and Skog had been waiting until he became a little weary, he said to his pastor, "Cooksburg, in all the years we have worked together, I can't remember one instance when you were on time." Pastor Cooksburg looked at him blandly and said, "Neither can I." I believe it was in 1911 that he gathered a little group of 11 during the youth conference out on the grounds of what became Minnehaha Academy. A group of 11, and they formed what they called a corps of collectors, insamlingskåren, who were to raise $100 each toward the new building, the first building to be erected on the campus. He succeeded in gathering that fund with great help from many people.
And so it began, with a people of passion following God's leading to create a school in Minneapolis to provide language, business, academic, and musical training for a generation of young Swedish immigrants. It happened because of the leadership of Christian teachers and the Northwest Conference of the Evangelical Covenant Church. They came in unexpected numbers. Minnehaha Academy, which opened in 1913, added to the building in 1916 and again in 1922. Every expansion was guided by prayer and supported by generous donations. The 1930s were challenging for all Christian schools, but through personal sacrifices and God's provision, the financial storm was weathered. Enrollment dropped to 134 students, and the business department was merged with the high school. However, by 1939, the school's 25th year, classes were once again growing.
But there are some things that abide. 2 times 2, I believe, is still 4. Law of gravitation is still working. And I think one of the basic tenets of Minnehaha Academy and purposes is the discovery of the truth. Christ said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." I think that's the purpose of all education, whether it's in mathematics or science or history or languages. It's to discover the truth. And I'd like to say that truth must always be growing. We never reach the limits. In fact, I think the greatest men are the humblest. One of the most penetrating requests that any human being ever made was in the shadow of the cross, when Philip said to Christ, "Show us the Father, and it sufficeth us." A newer translation puts it this way, "Let us see the Father, that's all we need."
Minnehaha Academy sent its share of young men into World War II, and when the war was over, the school embarked on an ambitious building program. Enrollment grew, faculty doubled in number, and student athletics expanded with the building of a gym in 1949, followed by the birth of athletic leagues. Homecoming and snow days became annual events. Once again, a community of faithful prayer warriors and donors came forward to support the school. The late 1960s and 70s were years of economic, racial, religious, and societal transition for the country as well as for Minnehaha. From the peaceful beginnings of the 1960s through God is Dead to the Jesus People movement, societal perceptions and attitudes brought numerous challenges to the school. Keeping in step with the times, the Academy added grades, remodeled buildings, and started using computers. Once again, God brought the right people into the mix, and new classes and structures were created. With the support of a faithful Christian community and God's providence, the roots held firm.
God isn't a luxury in any human life, and He isn't a convenience either. He's an absolute necessity. Our message is Christ-centered. Paul wrote to the Colossians, "Him we preach." Not a creed, not a code of ethics necessarily, not a philosophy, though I think it leads to all of that, but primarily a person. Christianity is a person.
Minnehaha graduated its largest class of seniors, numbering 195, in the 90s. The physical plant was expanded with the purchase of South Campus, enabling the formation of a middle school and a lower school. The expansion also made possible the establishment of a licensed preschool program in 1995. In addition, an opportunity arose to open a site in Bloomington, which operated for 15 years. Professional development opportunities for teachers and advanced courses for students were expanded, and new schedules were created to make learning the best it could be. The school mascot became the Red Hawk. Changing worship styles in the church at large were reflected in the chapel services, with the focus remaining on a gracious God.
I thank God for the men and women who've gone out from Minnehaha Academy, both as ministers and as missionaries. I've met them all over the world, and in various lay professions, as we call them, and yet are bearing witness in word and in deed to the living faith that perhaps was kindled at Minnehaha Academy or reinforced.
Moving into a new century, the school is once again faced by challenging economic times. Minnehaha continues to adapt to changing methodology, and the leadership incorporates the best practices of ongoing educational research. The latest technology is being implemented, along with classroom configurations, schedules, and policies which facilitate learning for this generation. Through all this, the school has stayed true to the Lord, who is in and through and supporting it on a daily basis.
And I want to say that I believe the greatest days of Minnehaha Academy are ahead. I think it's doing a bigger and better work today than ever before, but I think bigger days are ahead. One ship sails east and another west, while the self-same breezes blow. It's the set of the sails and not the gales that determines which way it shall go. Like the winds of the seas are the ways of the fates as we voyage along through life. It's the set of the soul that determines the goal and not the storm and the strife. And the purpose of Minnehaha Academy is to help these young people set the sails and set their souls, that their lives may be a channel of blessing and their memory a benediction. And the purpose of Minnehaha Academy is to help these young people set the sails and set their souls, that their lives may be a channel of blessing and their memory a benediction.